Namaste. Okay, so I'm out here now, just trying to get a little change of scenery. But I love my closet slash office. I hang out in there a lot, and I thought we'd come out and get a little change of scenery. So this is part two, coming to the kundalini path, and where I left off. So the meditation continued, and it was really intense. I spent a lot of time sitting, observing, being aware, and a lot came up to be looked at. You know, it was when you first start, that's what happens. And also was some peace that came from that, and stilling too, as well as I don't know. I don't really want to say bliss as much as just feeling peaceful, and people were noticing it, and so that's where things were at that point. And then the one day when I was sitting there, and the first time I had Kriyas, I was sitting there, and my hands just automatically came up in prayer. And I just kept going along. I mean, these things were to me rather startling. I wasn't really settled with them. And yet I feel like that was just more of all that floodgate that was going to come forward in terms of emotions and playing out in every way. I mean, maybe, that's just what it seemed like. So, So the Kriyas continued and got very intense. Actually, there was yoga moves done, and I have never done yoga before. It was never anything that I gravitated to at all. And I mean, these were yoga moves that were incredible. I mean, just bending in ways that you never thought your body could bend, and all sorts of shifts in breathing, and honestly, they were really it was crazy stuff. It just how these yoga moves, and what I noticed was that with these yoga moves, there was a sense of elation too, and almost a sense of, I know certain things in my body. I had a period of time where I had a lot of pain, and if I just paid attention to a certain part of my body, that energy would go right there. I could feel it, and it would take care of it. And it was kind of awe. I was a bit in awe with it, and a bit, but also just, didn't let myself feel like, oh, I was something special or anything like that. I just felt like, well, what's happening here? This is wild. This was sometimes my day, and then, I was still needing to be a mother, and I was working and needing to take care of my responsibilities. And also, I would hear clapping, popping. There was a sound like a swarm of bees. And these kinds of things, which was called the nod, which I found out later, but this would take place even if I was, walking around anywhere. And fortunately, Kundalini has that intelligence where, at least with me, I was fortunate enough where, certainly all of it was still there, but, being right out in public or talking with someone, that would not happen. I could kind of, it just fortunately didn't manifest real crazily, at least in outwardly with others, but it was certainly ongoing and pressing 24/7. So I just kind of, okay, what's next on this roller coaster ride? And yeah, and I just went through some heavy depression with this. There was just a lot that took place that really floored me, and illnesses that debilitated me to the point where getting up to do my regular things was very, very hard. So life went on, though, and I did get myself up and going and did move forward, and, did what had to be done bit by bit. But, another thing, too, I was seeing auras and seeing a lot of colors, and this was I didn't again know what to make of this, and I did go to some healers. I went to a yoga instructor who said that, oh, you have a gift, and and these kinds of things that were said to me just were not settling, and whatever the healers did made it worse. I just left very ungrounded, and they didn't have any experience with it themselves, and since they were not balanced themselves, what could they offer really? And what they did offer made it worse, quite frankly. And so that was where I was at. And also, I remember too, right before meeting Guruji, when I was laying down, um, I would see these visions that were so crystal clear. And one of them, it was just like, a window just opens up and you can see into these other worlds. And there was one that was, you could just see these snow-capped mountains in the snow, and you could just feel it in your whole being, this, that snow, and how clean it was and clear, and these people were walking in the snow, and they had on these hoods with fur around them and colorful jackets, and they were walking along, but it was unbelievably vivid and crystal clear, like way more so than regular life, and as well as jutting mountains and churches and a lot of religious imagery, crosses, and um, um, the ocean, as I said, and it just, I'm just trying to recall some of it, and it is hard to recall everything, but it will come forward. So this was the state I was in before meeting Guruji, which, I was feeling very ill. I was having all these symptoms and really quite depleted and having a hard time working. So one day I went to the computer and I typed in kundalini, and her name came up, and it said that she had completed the journey and she's willing to help others through this. And I just typed in, I saw her name was the first thing. I just typed in, help, I'm having all these symptoms and can you help? And, I even waited a few days to get back to it because I didn't know if it would help. I mean, nothing really had so much at that point. But her answers that came back were very grounded. I could tell she had been through this very magical, wondrous, devastating, at least it seemed at that point to me, process. Such a mixed bag, really, and that she said she had been through some traumas as well and raised a child, and she came out of that, and that in itself was enough for me to just, it wasn't even all her words so much as it just pierced my, heart. I could feel that there was something there that I really wanted to follow, and that she had made herself so open. And so one day when we were conversing on the net, she did ask where I lived, and I said I live in Seattle, Washington, and she said, oh, my daughter lives there. And she said, whereabouts? And I said, on Capitol Hill, and she said, that's exactly where her daughter lives. So she was in India at the time, and of all places that she said she was going to move here, that she could move to was, Capitol Hill, Seattle, which I had lived for years. So that was just another in sync, moment that was, I just felt myself very lucky to have her come to me. And then from there, she just offered some great tools, and she offered a way through. She offered an understanding and a way through. And that actually, and whatever tools she gave were so effective, her presence being the main thing. But that is exactly what I needed to hear. And also it was calming. It was a calming thing, her energy, overall, in terms of sometimes things get revved up in the presence of that. That's what I mean by overall. I mean, things can really do all sorts of things in these shifts and things. So that is, I think I will leave this for now, and we will see what else comes out. So thank you for being here today. Namaste. Bye-bye.